This is one-on-one session with the Forum IAS founder and director Ayush Sir. In this session, students are asked questions to test their preparedness for the personality test. One-on-one sessions are not mock panel sessions.
May I come in, sir?
Please come in.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Have a seat.
Thank you, sir.
So good to see you, Anjali. You have been an old student with Forum.
Right, sir.
है ना? So now, when is 11th May?
Sir, 13 May.
13th May. All right. So let us begin with a couple of questions.
Right, sir.
So Anjali, can you briefly introduce yourself to me?
Sir, my name is Anjali and I come from Indore in Madhya Pradesh. I've done my schooling from Indore and then my BE in Computer Science Engineering from Medicap's Institute of Science and Technology, which is also in Indore. Post my graduation, I have been preparing for civil services with geography as my optional subject. And I am very passionate about tennis, and also I follow doing paintings, particularly the Gond type of art interests me. And I consider myself a very cheerful, optimistic, and a very hardworking person.
Tell me certain tribes from Central India. Names of certain tribes from Central India.
Sir, towards the part of nearby Rajasthan and in Madhya Pradesh border, we have the Saharias, and overall we have Bhil and Gonds primarily in Central India, and on the eastern Central Indian part, with Chhattisgarh, there is Abuj Mars, and there are also tribes like even Saharias are also found in eastern part, and Maria and Muria tribes also.
If you see the condition of scheduled tribes, first is why are they called scheduled tribes?
Sir, the president declares them as scheduled tribes under Article 366, Clause 25 of the Constitution. So all those tribes which
No,
are
how did the name scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, where did scheduled word come from? It was before independence. I'll give you a hint here.
I'm sorry, sir, I'll have to look into that.
All right. So Gandhi and Ambedkar, both of them two doyens of modern India.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what were the differences between the two of them?
Sir, I would say that their end goals were the same, but the means of achieving those were different, in the sense that if I talk about untouchability or the empowerment of the scheduled caste, Ambedkar believed in their economic and financial empowerment. And for that, he said that it is important that in order to achieve social democracy, you need to empower them educationally. And Gandhiji, on the other hand, he had a very different idea of their empowerment, whereby he focused on uplifting the scheduled caste people through intermingling, intermixing, and awareing the people about the ills of the caste system. Apart from that, sir, Ambedkar also believed that as a nation we have to grow economically, while Gandhiji believed in the concept of Gram Swaraj, self-sustaining villages. In those two aspects, they were different.
Both of them championed the cause of the scheduled castes.
Right, sir.
How far is it correct to say that the question of scheduled tribes was missed by both of them?
Sir, with whatever I have read in the modern Indian history about the two personalities, sir, I have personally not been come across any aspect where both of them could come upfrontly and they talked about the issue of scheduled tribes. So, sir, I think there was a little, they somehow did not touch upon this issue, while untouchability was something they did address.
Yeah, so the untouchability aspects associated with the scheduled caste was hotly contested and debated, and they had their own arguments.
Yes, sir.
But the scheduled tribes question was missing. There is a certain reason that is cited as to why Ambedkar differed hugely from Gandhi on several issues. Can you tell me the reasons why Ambedkar differed so much from Gandhi?
Sir, I think it primarily lies with what Baba Sahib Ambedkar had himself experienced firsthand. His own experiences of the atrocities committed on the scheduled caste was something which shaped his view very firmly regarding him waging a struggle. While though Gandhiji could empathize with the sufferings of the scheduled castes, since he never belonged to that, so his approach and his view had to be naturally different than Ambedkar. And having said that, sir, Ambedkar ji believed in going outrightly waging a struggle against the Brahmins and the so-called elite class. While Gandhiji, he was not particularly against the Varna system, and Ambedkar totally discarded it because he believed that if there is any sort of classification, scheduled castes and untouchability could never be addressed. Well, Gandhiji always believed that it's the caste system which is primarily responsible and not the Varna system.
So that's the difference. Okay, so one reason that you gave me was because Ambedkar had faced caste discrimination firsthand.
Yes, sir.
है ना? Okay. Any other reason why there were differences? Don't tell me the differences, reason for the difference.
Yes, sir.
Their worldview was completely different. So you said you've read modern history. What contribution have you read of Ambedkar in the freedom struggle?
Sir, it is mostly in the aspect of fighting for the scheduled caste, where he went to the round table conferences.
Yes, so
And he wanted
Ambedkar did not participate in the Gandhi-led freedom struggle,
yes,
and therefore, at the time of while he framed the constitution, it was said that he was not aware of the worldview fully of what Gandhi had imagined the world to be, because he had largely kept himself away from the freedom struggle because he felt that the Dalit question was a bigger question.
yes, sir.
All right. Anjali, so you have also got into Gond painting.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. What is the theme of the Gond paintings?
Sir, these are the tribal paintings. So the theme mostly revolves around the nature and how man is connected
Is it
to
a
nature.
mural painting? Is it a miniature painting? What sort of painting is it?
Sir, earlier they were mural in their ancient form. They were used to be drawn on the walls of houses. But in the present era, they have come on to the canvas. So now they are taking the miniature form as well. So now we can see them on simple drawing sheets and drawing boards. So
And what is the theme?
Sir, the theme is regarding the flora and the fauna in the particular region of the tribes which is found. For example, like the mahua tree, which they worship. So they try to depict that. Sometimes even the fauna like tiger, deer. So, and how human is dependent on all these aspects of nature they try to portray.
Okay, now thinking from the tribal perspective, the tribals, it is felt by policymakers that tribals have not so much benefited from the developments that have taken place after independence. Put yourself in the shoes of a tribal man or a woman living in certain forested areas of Madhya Pradesh. Who does he see as the enemy, and what is the reason for that?
Sir, as a tribal person, I would consider not enemy, but yes, people responsible for my sufferings to be the outsiders. Now, that could be even a normal person who's coming to my homeland, or for that fact, even the government officials or the entire machinery.
Okay, very good. So you say that it could be even a person who's coming unannounced to his house.
Yes, sir.
So that is one class. Why he thinks they could be his enemies because he is not acclimatized to them and they come unannounced.
Yes, sir.
Okay. With government officials, what sort of government officials does he interact with?
Sir, with government officials, sometimes their land, which is very close to them, that is taken away because they do not possess the land records because they are not educated. So they don't have those land records.
Who generally evicts them from land?
Sir, I think the powers are with the district magistrate to have a final decision. And there's a system where we have Gram Sabha, and there firstly it is taken, it is the 3-tier hierarchical system. And
No, he also sometimes does not have a problem with the forest guard.
Yes, sir.
What is the
Actually,
structural reason for it? Yes.
sir, there are two bureaucracies which get overlapped here. One is the civil and then the forest administration as well. So both of them have tried to exercise their rights over the land, even the forest officials as well as the district officials. So sometimes the question of the land issue gets very much aggravated because of that. And sir, even the apex court had ordered their eviction some time back, which was
No, so
turned.
to solve such problems, I'll give you a hint. To solve such problems, we nationalize forest, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Whose property is the forest? Is whose property? The nation's
The
property.
nation's property.
By this itself, we are saying that it is not the property of the forest dweller. Right? We have come up with right now with Forest Rights Act.
Yes, sir.
You know, dwellers of forest. All right. So because of which the forest guard may have said that please leave the place. So we have certain wildlife sanctuaries and national parks,
Yes, sir.
you know, in which they became an unwelcome guest in their own land. What step did the government take so that this eviction could be stopped?
Sir, in the scheme of national parks, we have a core area, and in the transition and the buffer areas, the tribals are permitted to an extent to live. And so, secondly, in the Forest Rights Act, we have provided them with title rights and the ownership rights, ownership of the community forest land, and title rights up to 4 hectares of the land to the tribals who have been living and residing permanently in the forests.
We created something else. We had wildlife sanctuaries, national parks. What else did we come up with?
Sir, we have scheduled areas specifically for the tribals.
Have you heard of Biosphere Reserves?
Yes, sir. We have Biosphere Reserves, and that primarily deals with the man and the nature interaction. And there we have 3 areas: the core area, and the buffer zone, and the transition zone. So, in the transition zone, and in fact, in some of the buffer areas, the tribals are allowed to continue with their existing life.
What was the reason for choosing geography as an optional?
Sir, I think geography I found as a very relatable subject because everything that we study in geography somehow we can see around us. For example, why Rajasthan is a desert, or why the most
Delhi is not having as much rainfall as it used to have before. What is the reason? What have we destroyed? Or at least some environmentalists are saying that we've destroyed something.
Sir, one is the continued desertification in the Aravalli ranges, uh, because of which the rainfall has been decreasing and the desertification is expanding towards Delhi. That's also one reason why dust storms are becoming common pre-monsoon in Delhi. And so secondly, it's the climate change which is responsible for the decreased rainfall, or probably the erraticity, increasing erraticity in the rainfall in Delhi. And so the increasing concretization that has happened in the city because of population explosion.
What are urban heat islands?
Sir, these are referred to as those urban places where the temperature, it's like a dome which is created because of the pollutants and the increasing carbon dioxide that traps the heat inside and doesn't let it go outside. So, and the nearby areas like the rural areas, they are particularly less impacted. So, nearby it's a cool area, while like an island, the major part of the urban area becomes heated.
What reasons are responsible for it?
Sir, one is the increasing pollution from the cities, because of which the particulate matter and the carbon dioxide which is released, it gets trapped and the heat gets trapped.
That is the least important reason, Anjali. You're from geography optional. What is the primary reason behind these urban heat islands? You've said it. You just make it, organize it.
Sir, climate change and the global warming
Nothing.
is...
Concrete buildings.
Yes, sir, the concretization.
Then what else?
Sir, the like we use the materials that we are using in the roads, like the asphalt and asbestos.
Old Rajendra Nagar, have you stayed there?
Yes, sir.
It will be an urban heat island.
Yes, sir. It's...
Concrete buildings and no trees.
Yes, sir.
What are we currently using in this room so that we are comfortable?
So the air conditioners.
Where will the heat be thrown out?
Yes, sir.
In the
Outside,
nearby.
in the
And
nearby
second
environment.
reason,
Yes, sir.
and concrete. Then air conditioning, the use of air conditioning is there. Then what else?
Sir, one is the spacing between the buildings. It's very close. So as a result of which, there's an internal reflection of the heat that happens, and
Good,
buildings
very
trap
good.
that heat.
So when the buildings at night radiate heat, trying to cool themselves, they often end up being absorbed
Yes, sir.
by nearby buildings. Therefore, these islands or these urban areas continue to remain hot, and you do not are unable to cool themselves. है ना?
Yes, sir.
Anjali, why do you want to join civil services?
Sir, my primary inclination to join the services was shaped by my parents. Through whom I realized that civil services is a position of a lot of responsibility, and that carries a lot of sanctity to it. And over the period of time, sir, I have followed quite a few civil servants on ground who have done some transformational work, and that has really inspired me and made me realize that through these services I will be able to create a meaningful impact in the lives of people. So with that enthusiasm, I wish to join the services.
All right, Anjali, your interview is over.
Thank you, sir.